right? Well, it doesn't always feel that way. My name is Lori Zierl, and during today's Heart of the Farm coffee chat, we're going to spend our time discussing ways to bring joy and contentment into your life by reducing the stress that often accompanies the holiday season. Let's start our coffee chat by reflecting upon the things that bring us joy. I'd like you to take a moment right now to think about and jot down at least one thing that brings you joy during this holiday season. If you don't happen to have a writing utensil beside you, just think about it and have something in your brain. I'm going to give you just a couple moments. Now, let's switch gears and write down at least one thing that stresses you out around the holiday season. Again, just a couple moments to think about that. Would anyone like to share what they wrote down or thought about in terms of joy? What brings you joy in your life? You can unmute your mic and tell us your answer, or you can type it in the chat box. What did you think about? What came to mind when you thought about what brought you joy during the holidays, or what brings you joy? Oh, I see someone has cleaning down. Interestingly enough, I enjoy that myself. My children's excitement, Christmas carols, Christmas Eve service, seeing family and friends, absolutely. Joy equals kids, baking, time with family, only saying yes to a few things and not packing in every get together, decorating the tree, Christmas lights, food. Yeah, I feel happier just reading those things. Okay, now again, let's switch gears and tell us what you thought or what came to mind when I asked you to identify some stressors that come along with the holiday season. What stresses you out? Again, put it in the chat, or if anybody cares to tell us out loud, we'd be happy to listen as well. Bad weather, spending money. Now that could be good or bad, but I'm assuming that might be a stressor. Costs, buying gifts. I like this one, going to Walmart again, buying presents, cleaning and cooking, rushing to buy gifts, missing parents who have passed. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Many of us have experienced an increase in stress during the past 10 months of the pandemic. We've had to adapt to changes in work, how we parent, how we interact with others. Perhaps you've experienced changes in income and lifestyle. Maybe you've lost a dear friend or family member. And now we're adding the additional pressure of the holidays. Whether you're looking for the best gift for your mother or planning the flawless family photo shoot, the pressure to have a perfect holiday can feel overwhelming. Of course, we all want to do our best to contribute to a joyous holiday season. But how do you know if you're walking the fine line between high standards and unrealistic expectations? Our expectations can come from families, friends, neighbors, social media, but more likely than not, our unrealistic expectations come from ourselves. Holding yourself to unrealistic expectations is the perfect recipe for stress and failure. So it's important to be realistic about what you can and can't accomplish in the time you have available. It can be helpful to work on time management skills by setting goals and expectations that are reasonable to meet. Next, make a priority list to ensure that the most important things you want to do are at the top, and the things that are not, you can let go of. On another note, you also need to be realistic about your expectation of others. You can't expect your partner to give you the gift he or she has no idea you want. You can't expect your 3-year-old to display the perfect behavior during a holiday meal. Communication is really key here. If you don't take the time to communicate your expectations, you set yourself up for disappointment. People can't read your mind, so if you expect something from someone, let them know. One way to significantly reduce the amount of stress in your life is to simplify your holiday tasks and schedule. We often feel that there's not enough time to do what we need to do because we're trying to do too much. One way to manage this time stress is to simplify your life. So what does simplifying mean? Simplifying is to consciously choose to give up certain things in your life. When making decisions about whether or not to do something, ask yourself these questions. Am I doing what I value? Is this activity or thing worth my time, energy, or resources? Does this bring me joy or happiness? Now, there are some things you have to do that aren't going to bring you joy or happiness, but this can help really, on some of those things that are maybe up in the air, make you decide whether or not you're going to follow through with them. Prioritize the activities that are important to you and adapt, reduce, or eliminate those that are not. Small time savings can add up and reduce your stress level. It might be time to take an honest look at your holiday plans or your life in general and assess what you really don't need to spend your time doing. So let's take another moment right now to think about and write down one thing that you could do to simplify your holiday to-do list. For example, years ago, I used to make a dozen different kinds of cookies to share with my neighbors and friends. Maybe it's more realistic to make a couple different kinds. Maybe you can decorate 1 or 2 rooms instead of the whole house. So right now, again, think about and write down, what's that one thing you think you might be able to take off your to-do list or adapt or change to simplify things? Again, would anybody like to share in the chat or via their mic something that you put down, that you wrote down or thought about? Oh, I love this one. Ask for help. Absolutely. One of our major stressors, right? We think that we're the only ones that can do it the right way. Homemade presents. Love that. And that probably also brings joy in your life as well. Any others? Take time to be in the moment and let the rest go. Sounds easy, but not so much. But absolutely, it would really reduce that stress. Give time instead of things. Love it. Delegate some tasks to spouse. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great. These are all wonderful. So one caution I might have for you is to make sure you have a conversation with those who may be affected by your decision to make a change. Let them know the changes you plan to make and why you're choosing to do so. There have been a whole host of changes for folks as a result of this current pandemic, and one more just might be the last straw. Change is not easy, change is stressful, and change can be good. So my challenge to you is to adapt or give up at least one thing that you do that is not a priority or a value to you during this holiday season. Our next presenter, Nancy Vance, will also be talking about realistic expectations, especially as they relate to financial decisions around the holiday. Nancy?
Thank you, Lori. It's a pleasure to be here and talk about the fun topic of financial stress. So taking care of yourself during this busy season also means taking care of your financial stress. The holiday may be the most wonderful time of year, but they can also be the most stressful financial time of the year as well. During the season, we're bombarded with holiday ads on TV, the radio, social media telling us to buy more and more. You see pictures of the perfect holiday decorations and gifts, And it seems like this year they actually started advertising right after Halloween. Unbelievable. And if that's not tempting enough, the ability to shop with the push of a button on the internet makes it way too easy to overspend. If you're like me, every year I have a budget, but I start by mid-month overspending because I get caught up in the excitement of the season and forget that I even have a budget. And with the COVID-19 pandemic casting a shadow of uncertainty over traditional holiday gatherings.
Nancy, you accidentally muted yourself.
Thank you. So should I start over on the slide?
That'd be great.
Okay, so with the COVID-19 pandemic casting a shadow of uncertainty over the traditional holiday gatherings and celebrations, many consumers in the US are using their wallets to get into the holiday spirit. Consumers say they plan to spend on the average $997 on gifts and holiday items, such as decorations and food. And they plan to do most of it online, according to the National Retail Federation. So looking at this chart, you can see that about 31% of those that were surveyed plan on going into debt with their holiday spending. And isn't it interesting when you see that it's the men at 47% that are planning on going into debt? And if you had to guess where most people went over budget, what do you think what topic do you think it is? What category? Well, if you said gifts, then you would be correct. So Lending Tree's 2019 holiday spending survey found that 90% of those surveyed overspend in the area of gift giving. And the same survey found that 61% of Americans are dreading the holiday due to the extra spending and financial burden that the season brings, causing loss of sleep, anxiety, and added stress. I don't even have the figures for this year, but it would make sense that it's a lot higher. It's understandable that parents worry about disappointing their kids. 3 in 4 parents of children under 18 feel pressure to spend money, overspend on holiday gifts. So parents are especially at risk of overspending. However, with the right strategies, there is hope for you and your wallet that you can enjoy greater holiday bliss. So we're going to cover some specific financial strategies that can be easily implemented. And with these tips in hand, you can go into the holidays with your finances in check and focus on what really matters, spending quality time with the family and friends and taking care of you. So making a budget and checking it twice, whether you call it a budget or a spending plan, it's just knowing where your money goes, and it decreases that stress because it reduces surprises. Budgets help to manage and prioritize what's most important to you. Without real or self-imposed limits, it's much easier to fall victim to the pull of advertising or marketers. The key during the holiday is that your budget is comprehensive. In a normal year, you would make sure to not only allow funds for gifts, but also additional funds for food, travel, parties, charitable donations that all happen this time of year. This year is unusual, we know. Although there may not be the travel that you normally experience, what about shipping costs? It might be larger than what you had in the past, or maybe what you're donating to worthy causes might be larger than normal. So set your holiday budget on how much total you want to spend on gifts. Break it down by each person, and it helps to keep in mind that often it doesn't matter so much of what the gift is as the effort that you put into it. If your children's wish list is outside your budget, it's okay to talk to them about this and give them realistic expectations. And remind them that the holidays aren't about expensive gifts. Or if your children are older, it's okay to talk to them about their expectations as well. And the cost of maybe the item they're asking for, Possibly allow for one primary gift and a few secondary ones that might show up in their stocking. It's been shown over and over again that what we remember is not the gift, but the experience. What is the experience that you want your child to have? Try this out. Ask your child or grandchildren what they got for Christmas last year and see if they can even remember it. But they'll probably remember the times that you got together and the fun that you had playing family games. So think about what you most want them to remember. Another tip is to shop early. Like most things in life, procrastination doesn't pay. Waiting to buy gifts at the last minute almost ensures that you're going to overspend. So last minute gifts are always going to be a little pricier, and you're also going to have to pay for that first class shipping you'll need to get them here on time. Shopping early also allows you to research prices and get to the most popular style, model, and color of the item. Start early by compiling a list of all the people you need to shop for and what the gift will be for each person. Stick with the list and create a schedule that allows you to complete shopping 2 weeks in advance. This will relieve you all that pressure of having to get the shopping done. It allows you to focus on the other aspects of the holiday, like the cooking or the family time, and also de-stressing, so that when the holiday does come, you are going to be relaxed, cool cucumber. So overspending can often overshadow the true sentiment of the holidays. If your list is running longer than your monthly budget, you need to scale back and remember and think about what really matters to you. You don't have to spend a lot of money to show someone that you care. Think about those DIY gifts like homemade cookies or crafts, a coupon book that the kids can make for grandparents, and be creative with your gift giving. If making a gift isn't an option because of your lack of artistic skills, you could always give someone the gift of time. In our hectic lives, time is the most valuable gift that we can give someone. It can make the biggest impact as well. Time together can calm those frazzled nerves and help busy families reconnect. Offering to babysit your sister's children while they spend a day shopping for gifts or helping a good friend prepare a meal for the holiday parties, it's a very generous gift that costs little more than just time. Another idea is to choose a charity to support and donate in honor of someone. It helps make every gift seem precious and inoculates you against the worst of the holiday shopping madness. It also teaches young ones the importance of giving back. Some ideas are adopting a manatee in a child's name, buy a goat for a person in a village to honor someone. There are so many wonderful organizations that it could be fun to pick one and let the children be part of the process. You could deliver the gift if it's a local organization like an animal shelter or a senior center. Cut back where you can. For example, if you hate sending those holiday cards with the latest picture of the children and the letter with all the high points of the family that they did the last year, well, don't do it. Send a thoughtful email or an e-card and save the cost of printing pictures and postage. If you come from a big family, they're a great source of comfort, but the pressure to buy all those gifts can be a little too much for your wallet to bear. So maybe you're the one that suggests a gift exchange instead, or to pull out maybe somebody's name from a hat and just buy the one gift. It can be brave to do this if you're bucking tradition, but I bet secretly that somebody else is thinking the same thing. And it's a great way to spend less, decrease the stress of finding time to shop and wrap all those additional gifts. And if you're following your budget that you created, and if you have to use your credit card for a gift, it means you can't afford it. Now, this does get tricky with online shopping. All you have to do is push a button with PayPal, and it is so easy to buy something. So one strategy that you might find helpful to curb that impulse is to put the purchase in the cart and then leave it there for 24 hours. And if you still want to purchase the item, then go for it. This delay in purchasing gives you time to reflect and think, is this something that you really want to put on your credit card? We all get caught up in the adrenaline rush and buy things without really thinking of the long-term consequences of having to pay it off in January. Also, pay close attention to the interest rates if you choose to use a credit card for your holiday shopping. Choose a credit card that has the lowest interest rates. Every parent wants the holidays to be memorable for their children, and the pressure is on to spend generously to make it happen. This is so true of parents with young children, whether it's getting them their dream gift or spending on traveling or experiences. According to Wallet Joy's 2019 Holiday Wallet Woes Report, 18% of parents say their spending has no limits when it comes to their kids, and 13% say they would max out their credit cards to give their kids the best holiday ever. So there must be a better way. Maybe this is the year to draw a line in the sand and embrace a simpler idea of holiday gift giving. Instead of racing to buy bigger, better, and more, we could be resetting our expectations, recalibrating our standards, and enjoy what we have more completely. We have all spent the last 9 months reevaluating our values and missing our loved ones. This year especially, maybe it's the time to choose simplicity over stress, or moderation over excess, and cash over credit. Financial worry, it's a common holiday stressor. Sometimes the high expectations and the need to spend can cast a dark shadow on what is supposed to be a happy season. With these tips in hand, you can go into the holiday with your finances in check and focus on what really matters, and not being stressed out or dreading the January mail when the bills start to arrive. Thank you. And our next presenter, Jackie Caratini, is ready to talk to you about harnessing the power of hope.
Hi. So let's start off with our first. We're going to take a little bit of time in what we have left and talk about self-care strategies. So our first strategy is that idea of positivity. How many of you use or hear the phrase think positive, right? Sometimes it can be annoying. No, what we know is that positive emotions have been linked with better health, longer life, and even a greater well-being overall in numerous scientific studies. And on the opposite hand, the idea of chronic anger, worry, hostility, that can increase the risk of things such as heart disease. And because when you react in this negative way, it actually, with those feelings and the chemicals are released in our bodies, it can actually raise your blood pressure and stiffen your blood vessels. So it's not easy to remain healthy and positive all the time, especially in times of crisis, right? And 2020 definitely qualifies as a time of crisis. So as we begin to talk about self-care strategies, the first one I encourage you to do is to really think about being positive on a daily basis. Am I frozen, you guys?
Mm-mm.
No, okay, sorry. So
Mm-mm.
I encourage you not to develop or to dwell on loss or the things that you can't do this year, but really focus on the things that are positive in your life. So I really want you, the first idea is to really look for that silver lining every day. And there is something, and some days may be more difficult than others, but really make it a purposeful every day to look for something positive. Okay, so our next question, I'm going to ask you a question, is what is one positive thing that you've noticed this fall? So we won't go too far back, but hopefully in the past month, you can think of one thing that's something positive that has happened. And you can just think it to yourself. Does anybody want to share in the chat one thing, or you can pop on that something positive that you've noticed in your life in the last month? It can be holiday related, family related, business related. Kate, you're right. Wisconsin is beautiful. More family time, getting things done at home, being intentional with connecting with friends, enjoying your family so much more. Neighbors, getting to know your neighbors, right? Awesome. So the idea is that I really encourage you on a daily basis to spend time thinking about the things that do, that give you joy or that they're a positive in your life. Because again, that negativity can really compound, and it's kind of sometimes easier to get stuck on the, oh, woe is me and all the things that are going wrong, but really make it purposeful and, have that positive intent to come up with the things that really are bringing you happiness and joy and the positive things in your life. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is that idea of really scheduling you time every day. And I know some of you are chuckling like, yeah, right, what's that? But the idea of, really be purposeful with scheduling in time for self-care for yourself. So that can look like exercise, it can be meditation, it can be a hobby that you enjoy. Maybe you like to knit or crochet. But I encourage you to set the timer and do it every day at the same time so that it becomes routine, right? So that you don't necessarily have to, remind yourself. Maybe you can put it in your calendar and you actually schedule yourself into your own calendar, or you do set a timer. Especially in times of stress, we know, or in transition, that it's important to keep routines. So routines can even ground us when times of chaos. So for me, I'll give you an example. I start my day with a cup of coffee. It's only 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes of just me. And I mindfully enjoy my coffee. And what I mean by that is I sip it very slowly. I try to savor the flavor, the smell, the warmth of the cup as I hold the cup. And then I really thinking about, again, the taste, the smell, the feel, and really savoring that moment. And then I end it and I take some really slow, deep breaths, in through my nose, out through my mouth, really slow, and just 3 breaths, not a lot, but just a few. And then I end it with 3 things that I'm grateful for, 3 blessings, and I start my day with that. So 5 minutes, it doesn't take a long time, but that's just me. And I do that every single day. Okay. So I encourage you to set time for just you. In my example, what do you guys think? I actually mentioned 4 self-care strategies. Can we name those strategies what do you guys think? There's 4 of them in there. 4 self-care strategies. Yep. Taking time for yourself. Absolutely. Be in the moment. Yep. Time for just you. Routine. Yeah. Exercise. Yep. Reflection. Yep. And savor the flavor. Yeah. Okay. So the 4 strategies that we talked about, one is keeping routine, again, making sure that you do it every day, and especially as times get busier and they're more hectic. And we're talking about holidays right now, but it might be different times of the year for you, as your workload increases or decreases. These same strategies apply. So that keeping the routine and scheduling yourself in, mindfully eating or drinking. A lot of times, especially we're in stress, we just wolf down food, right? and you'll be done with something and you'll go, huh, I don't even know that I remember eating it, or you don't know what it tasted like. So that idea of really be mindful with eating and drinking, and what does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? And really taking that idea of just spending a minute and enjoying the food. And then the last one is really that idea of, again, taking a moment for 3 deep breaths. Research tells us that something as simple as 3 slow, deep breaths can actually lower your blood pressure. So I encourage you to take time throughout your day to build in, just really slow, deep breathing. So in through your nose and then exhale through your mouth. And you'll notice if you do that, if you just take 1 slow, deep breath, again, in through your nose and out through your mouth, what happens? Your shoulders drop immediately. So if you're one of those people that hold stress in your shoulders, in your neck. That idea of just something as simple as taking a slow, deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth can immediately relax yourself. So that's really important. And then the last one that I mentioned is the idea of gratitude, and really being thankful and thinking about the things that, whether you want to call it gratitude or blessings. I have a blessings jar sitting here. And that's something we do as a family. We actually write something that we're thankful for every day, and we throw it in the blessings jar. And then when we feel that we're, kind of losing something or having a bad day, we pull out that blessings jar and everybody reads something that they're thankful for. So, the idea of practicing gratitude is really good for your well-being. Okay, let's move to the next slide. The next one is the idea of being present in the moment. A lot of times when we say the word mindfulness, people are like, oh yeah, I don't do yoga, or I don't have time for that in my schedule. But really the idea of mindfulness and even meditation is the definition of being present in the moment. So this can be, spending a minute or two, really just noticing the things around you. And I always encourage people, especially if you're super, super busy, to just even try to be present in the day-to-day things. So washing the dishes, what does your soap smell like? Do you see rainbows in the bubbles? How does it feel on your skin? So that even day-to-day things and things that are really rote, brushing your teeth, again, what does it smell like? What does it feel like? Really that's that idea of being present in the moment and using all of your senses as you're kind of trying to take everything in. And the more that you notice things like the smells, the sights, the sounds, and especially this time of year, the holidays, right? So both Lori and Nancy talked about, this year we have less, right? It might not be the same as it was before, but I encourage you to use your senses and that idea of really being present in the moment to find out the things that you really do enjoy. Is it the smell of the Christmas tree? Is it the way the lights twinkle on the tree? And you can use this throughout the year with other holidays as well. But I encourage you to really sit and be present and use your senses to take everything in. And that's something that really, when you do that, it grounds you, but it also kind of brings you back, especially if you're sitting in kind of a lower moment. Another activity I encourage you to try, especially with your family and friends, is the idea of recall. So think of, especially now during the holidays, think about your favorite, family holiday. What was it? Or for you as a child, what was your favorite thing that you remember? And most of the time, if we do this, especially folks they come back with, if they're thinking about their childhood, and a lot of times it's food, right? You can remember grandma's cookies, or you can, the smell of breakfast on Christmas morning, those kind of things, again, because it's our senses. So that's, again, where I encourage you to really sit and take a moment. Research does tell us that if we recall, so that we can actually sit and recall a happy time, the same chemicals are released, the same hormones are released in our body as when you actually did that, when you were there in that moment. So the idea of sitting and spending some time doing recall and those happy moments can actually release those same happy chemicals in your body again. So even though we can't do the same things this year, that idea of just looking through photos or spending some time recalling some of those happy memories can have that same kind of chemical release. So it's really important. Okay. And lastly, the idea of taking care of your physical health. So we talked a little bit about this in the first one when I said set a routine. But again, what are you doing for exercise? And when I say exercise, it's not just running 3 miles a day. It's the idea of keep this phrase. I love this phrase. Any movement is good movement. So really just get yourself up and moving. So whatever is good for you and whatever you're able to do, but it's really important, especially as we get into winter. And I know Jenny said she had a lot of snow, depending where you are in Wisconsin, but really, maybe it's you were doing outdoor activities. Now you're going to move them into indoor activities, but be very purposeful with, and this could be part of that, keeping that routine every day too, but take care of yourself. And then as part of that, physical health also comes in sleep, right? And I say sleep and everybody goes, oh, sleep is one of those first things that you notice that you lose, especially under times of stress. So really be purposeful with trying to get a good night's sleep, and then balance your diet with, especially during this time of year, if we have treats, notice that if you're going to have a heavy treat day, then try to add some healthy things into, because you know that when you eat better and you exercise, you feel better too. So, okay. And lastly, just the idea of, I encourage you to really think about ways that you're going to build joy into your holiday season. So it might be tools that Lori covered, or even things that Nancy said, or that idea of making time for you. But I really want you to be purposeful with trying to make joy. And again, remember, joy may be different this year because of COVID, but really be purposeful with building it in. And I say on a daily basis, what are things you're going to do every day to try to bring joy? So, okay, where are we at with time? Right on time. I'm going to turn it back over to Heather.
Okay, thank you, Jackie, Nancy, and Lori, for a wonderful presentation. It's 10:44, so we have a few minutes before we do our wrap-up stuff. I want to know if anybody in the audience has questions for Jackie, Nancy, or Lori that they would like to ask at this time. You can do so either via the chat function like you've been doing, or feel free to unmute. Okay. I don't see anything coming in. Oh, here I do see one. So how do you get in a routine and stay there?
I'll take that one to start, and then Lori or Nancy, you can hop in. I'm very purposeful, and I think one of the tips that has worked for me, and I've heard from others, is scheduling it. Like literally schedule it. So put it in your calendar, put it into your day, let everybody know that this is it, and then really stick to it. The other thing you can do is even reward yourself if it's something that you don't like. So maybe it's exercise and you're like, oh, exercise is a chore, I really gotta, then reward yourself. If you do it 5 days in a row, then give yourself something. So the idea of, we're all human, right? So sometimes it takes a little more effort, but yeah, so if you do something a certain amount of time, then give yourself some kind of reward system. We do that with our kids, right? But it works for adults too.
Yeah, and I would just add that when Jackie talked about self-care, part of self-care is giving yourself grace when you do have a routine and you miss a day. Sometimes we feel like we failed, so we give up. But part of that routine is just being kind to yourself and being, again, going back to the realistic. What kind of routine is going to work for me? So think about it ahead of time and plan that in.
I don't know if you've ever seen. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, start small too. If this is a normal routine that you do every day, so maybe just start with very small changes and then gradually increase.
I was going to say, I don't know if any of you have seen the video. It went around quite a few times in the last couple of years, but it's a mom hiding in the pantry eating a piece of licorice. And she's recording herself. And as she's doing it, you can see little fingers coming under the door crack. And she says, yes, this is what I've resorted to. I hide in the pantry. And you can see these little fingers coming in and they're knocking and they're going, Mom, what are you doing? What are you doing in there? And it's that idea of, sometimes it might even be, hopefully it's not that chaotic, but you do have to, really work at just finding some place. And I know, especially if we have toddlers, you feel like there is no place where your kids aren't, right? So I know a lot of moms say they hide in the bathroom too. But yeah, it's this idea of where whatever works for you. And it might not be this ideal thing, but it really is just building it in. And sometimes I know a lot of moms, get up extra early just so they can have that time, or late after everybody goes to bed, because you're trying to build in that time when there isn't anybody else. And sometimes we say there never is not anybody, right? So that's that really putting yourself on the list. Sometimes we're not even moving ourselves up the list, we're putting ourselves on the list because especially as, moms and grandmas and spouses, we don't even make the list. So sometimes it's even putting yourself on the list.
Okay, another question that I see in the chat box that's come up a couple times is, how do we support caregivers during the holidays? Or how do we get caregivers, if we're looking for someone to help us out? Kind of a two-part question.
Yeah, so I'll start with how do we get help? Earlier, when I asked the question about some of the stressors and expectations and things that people could do to simplify their life, one was to share responsibilities. And here again, I think many of us who are caretakers feel like we're the only one that can do it the right way, or that we maybe don't have options. So one of the first steps is just recognizing that you need some assistance and need some help. And if you don't have that in your family support system, then it's okay to go outside. Again, give yourself permission to let somebody else take over some of the things that you think only you can do. And then, we're experiencing a lot of grief this year also for traditions that are gone, families we might have lost, or just feeling the grief of not, of having, to take care of someone that isn't, maybe healthy or has the capacity that they used to. And acknowledge that grief is human, and that there are also some supports to help you through that that process as well.
I agree with what Lori said. I have an adult special needs child, and since COVID, he's home with me a lot. And I actually practiced this last week. I actually asked a family member if he could just come and stay for a couple of hours during the day, because sometimes even trying to get my work done, I've done it, and I've done it for 9 months, but it's that idea of just not having to worry about someone else, even just for an hour or two. And I'll be honest, that's not something I normally do, but it was like, whoo, this huge weight lifted. So I do encourage you to ask for help. And as Lori said, there are respite agencies as well that will help you find it. So if you don't have family or friends that can, I encourage you to look into respite, because it does exist throughout Wisconsin.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'm still open for questions, but before you leave, I just wanted to get a demographic. So as part of the extension services, we need to collect demographics in order to show the audience that we are serving. This poll is anonymous, so we do not know who is responding to what. So if you wouldn't mind filling it out, there's a couple questions on top about the demographics. If you do not want to fill it out, you could either leave it blank, or you can just click prefer not to respond. But at the end, there are 2 questions about the presentation today. So please rate your level of satisfaction, and then as a result of participating in today's coffee chat. If you wouldn't mind filling those out so we can give our presenters some feedback on how well they did or what we need to change moving forward in the upcoming coffee chats. Also, if you guys are monitoring the chat, you can see Elena has posted in there where you can find information on the future coffee chats that are coming up. So please let us know if you have any questions. We appreciate you guys taking time to be here today with us. You're welcome, Sarah. We enjoy them. So that is all we have for today. So once you have completed the demographics and evaluation poll that's in progress, if you don't have any more questions, feel free to leave and move on with your day. We really appreciate the time that you've spent with us.